I've suddenly become a public defender of the millennial generation. My generation. I don't know how I became a public defender of a vilified generation. I guess I just have a soft spot in my heart for truly lost causes, for the poor and unfortunate, all of which the millennials are. I feel like the millennials, they have truly fallen from grace. They had their time in the sun. They were like the Regina George of the cafeteria, popular kid of the playground. And now they have this giant kick me sign taped on their back. And you know who's kicking them? Boomers are kicking them, and Gen Z is kicking them with their wide leg pants. So now we have to take this to court, to the court of public opinion, where I, as a public defender who's not even a real lawyer, has defended millennials through thick and thin. I've defended them when boomers mocked and shamed them for their exorbitant spending on avocado toast and gourmet coffee. I've defended them through the dark age when Gen Z hath charged them with chugginess for still sticking to their skinny jeans and their side parts. If the skinny jeans don't fit, you must acquit. I've also defended my clients' inability to grow up, inability to adult and be a Disney adult. And through all these crimes and misdemeanors, we are back in court because my defendant is in trouble yet again. I am now here to defend my clients in one of the worst charges of all. Millennials are charged for making this world ugly, for raising their kids in a sad, beige, dystopian nursery for the aesthetics. My name is Teresa, and this is lifeless millennial minimalism. Your Honor, you may come across a series of incriminating videos provided by my client on Instagram, which is their preferred playground. But lately, they've been dipping their toe into TikTok, just trying to stay relevant, trying to keep up with the cool kids. Some of them are mothers now. Even as mothers, they still need to maintain the aesthetic. For a time, her antics online were cool, but now the vibe has shifted and she's no longer cool anymore. And now she's in a bit of trouble. The ethics of her parenting is called into question. Her chasing of clout is called into question. They've been taking their kids' colorful toys and painting them neutralizing their kids' toys, neutralizing their Christmas trees, neutralizing the nurseries, kids' wardrobes, the entire house, maybe even the entire neighborhood. You may see videos of some kid party with the bouncy playhouse all in white. There's no color whatsoever, but it is aesthetic. Aesthetic to my client, that is. They've been charged with making things sterile, lifeless, unaesthetic. They've been very selfish to imposing their lifeless aesthetic onto their children, forcing their child to live in a millennial dystopian world. I will try to convince you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, there's some good within my client's lifeless eyes. The list of grievances against my client is long and incriminating. Things don't really look good for my client right now. I don't know if I'm gonna win this court case. So I think this recent backlash against lifeless millennial minimalism, it's a tongue twister. It's just because for the past 10 years, it feels like 10 years, we've just been saturated with gray interiors, with the minimalism movements, with the whole Marie Kondo, spark joy, decluttering every single thing in your home, and then living in a white minimalist box. And then when you're looking for some place to live, every apartment, every house flip is usually in some 5/1 gentrified structure. You know what I'm talking about. You know what these apartments look like. You see whitewashed walls, the landlord special, just painting everything white to make it look nice and pure and clean, painting over all the things that they should have fixed in the first place. House flippers buying a beautiful 1920s home, ripping out all the original details and historical features and putting in the same stuff, the same gray laminate floors, the same white cabinet, gray walls, gray couch, cold, clean, clinical, lifeless millennial gray. So this style has been running rampant for about 10 years, and it all coincided after the 2008 recession with the adoption of minimalism. At that time, millennials were just starting to enter the job force, graduate from college. Without much money, you make do with what you have. You adopt minimalism, getting rid of your items you're buying less with the good intention that you're going to reduce your consumerism because you don't have much money, you gotta save some money, and you're trying to be eco-friendly, you're not contributing to waste of the things that you own. You wanna make sure that they're quality items. And the same goes for when you have kids. Wooden building blocks, a jute rug, quality dolls. I've read Goodbye Things several times and I still look at the author, I look at his futon, and I just think it looks so peaceful and calm to not be bothered by a lot of things. I can definitely understand the appeal behind it. I could still understand the appeal behind it. Obviously, I'm not living it. Obviously, there's things all around me. There was a period of time where I very much aspired to be an extreme minimalist. You walk in and you see everything is neat and in its proper place, and there's a cohesive color scheme. It is pretty calming. It comes from a good place. It comes from a place of anti-consumerism, owning less items, but higher quality items, investing in higher quality items. I bought into all that. You should also strive to be eco-friendly, and in being eco-friendly, you should look for natural materials, natural fibers like linen, something without a lot of synthetic dyes, wooden kids' toys versus bright plastic kid toys. The good intentions are there. And when the first all beige, all natural child's nursery appeared on Instagram, I'm sure that it was considered very avant-garde, because who has ever heard of an all natural material, all beige child's nursery? You know, kids' things are always associated with color. Graphic design for kids always in a crayon-like font, all the colors of the rainbow. Seeing an all beige, all natural material kids' nursery, kids' room, kids' wardrobe, it was groundbreaking. Rebellious even. Rebellious against the establishment. It was considered luxurious, aspirational, something to strive for. Speaking of aspirations, we're heading into the choppy waters of the social class implications of maintaining a white-on-white or luxe beige home. In order to maintain a uniform and cohesive theme throughout your home, making sure that your furniture, your wardrobe, your accessories, your finishings matches the aesthetic, matches your neutral aesthetic. You need to have both money and you need to have time. Usually money buys time, and with money you could pay for help to help you clean your restoration hardware cloud couch, your white rugs, beige ottoman. There's a reason why hotels have sturdy industrial multi-patterned carpets, because you can't see the stain. But if you're going to live someplace where every single stain, every single spill, every single scrape will be visible, you need to somehow maintain that. So this luxe aesthetic has the unspoken message of quiet luxury. You want what I have. So this luxe aesthetic is the equivalent of a humble brag. Why beige is the preferred color for rich women, by Stephanie McNeil. A beige baby becomes a vanilla girl, becomes a coastal grandmother. It's a modern way to convey privilege and wealth. What we have here is the evolution of internet aesthetics. So we have the beige baby, the millennial woman's baby, my defendant's baby. The baby has a very difficult to pronounce name with too many letters, like tragedy. The beige baby becomes the vanilla girl, becomes clean girl, that girl, and then the coastal grandmother. So just like we have the evolution of man, we have the evolution of internet aesthetics through a woman's life, a woman who lives her life chronically online. Muted tones have come to signify wealth and privilege through various stages of life. The dirty little secret beneath a perfect beige life is the dedication it takes to maintain. A beige baby requires a beige nursery, so you need enough money to curate all the furniture to match. To be beigeified is to have the money, the stability, and the security to care for everything in your life with the utmost grace, from your sheets to your skin. It's the freedom to curate your life to a specific high-effort aesthetic. It's the ability to have a clean home, ironed clothes, a nice lit candle, and yet be relaxed. To commit to beigeification is to have the resources to do so, but when your rugs get stained and you don't have time to clean it, and your skin breaks out, and your baby is screaming, and your husband spills coffee on your duvet, all that beige can really only serve as a monument to how truly hard it is to be truly unbothered. Ultimately, all this social media beigeness is doing what aspirational trends have always done: make the rest of us feel like we can never measure up. In the pursuit of a perfectly beige life, most of the world is doomed to endlessly fall short. That's a beautifully written article Thank you, Stephanie McNeil. You've summed it up. You've summed up my case. Unfortunately, my case is defending the millennial woman that's on trial right now against this class action lawsuit. Actually, you've summed up their case. So you've made it 10 times more difficult for me as the public defender of the nameless millennial woman who is chronically online and kind of a control freak when it comes to aesthetics. You made it very difficult for me. So in addition to the upper class privilege charge against the defendant of having a beigeified, neutralized home, they are also charged with white rooms, white furniture, uniformed whiteness, whitewashing. You know where this is going. How do I put this delicately? Putting Western ideals of beauty up on a pedestal. Greco-Roman statues, pure white, all white. Though archaeological findings have shown that these statues were originally painted very colorfully, and it was over time that they lost their color. Back to that in a second. Versus the opposite end of the spectrum, having a cluttered home, garish, colorful, and hence tacky Fisher-Price children's toys scattered about connotes that one is poor. A colorfully mismatched interior also connotes that one is not adhering to the Western standards of artistic beauty. Greco-Roman statues, art of antiquity. One is, oh my gosh, ethnic. These are the charges lobbed at my defendants. We have a social class issue with the beigeification of the home. We even have a race issue. These are all valid points. I can definitely see each and every one of these points making sense, though I think it's a little bit of a deep read here. Go back to that video of that mother spray painting, neutralizing her kids' toys. She is not thinking about a marble bust. I don't know what she's thinking, actually. I think she's just thinking that this is a fun DIY project to do. She's thinking about the likes she would get on social media. So I think the only crime she has committed is the crime of chasing clout. I guarantee you she's not thinking about the Roman Empire. I guarantee you that she's not flexing her wealth. In fact, in a strange twist of irony, the fact that she's spray painting a toy, DIYing, making do means that she's not at the level where she could buy a $300 elephant, a $30 baby rattle. She aspires to be at that level. And it kind of defeats the purpose of giving your kids eco-friendly toys when you have to spray paint it and provide them with the toys spray painted with toxins that they would probably put in their mouth. So ladies and gentlemen of the jury, as to these charges lobbed toward the defendant, never attribute to malice what one could attribute to stupidity. Not that the defendant is stupid. Well, some of them are a little slow on the uptake. And that's exactly what I would have the defendant plead if it came down to the wire and it looked like we're gonna lose. We're gonna plead stupidity. Hopefully we'll get a slap on the wrist. So what else? What other grievances has been lobbed at the defendant? And believe me, the grievances are long. The trend has been dubbed prison core, and some wonder whether sucking the color out of children's lives might stunt their development. Is the sad beige baby aesthetic harming babies? I guess this is just like a science experiment. Time will tell. This is the first example of people purposefully raising their kids in a sad beige nursery or a dystopian millennial minimal home. So we will see what these kids will grow up into being. I would have to say this in the defendant's defense, or else I wouldn't be a fake public defender, is that the millennial mothers under fire, I'm assuming that they grew up in a colorful household. I'm assuming they grew up in a household decorated all 80s in aqua and peach, or a 90s household. Wood kitchen cabinets, mismatched furniture, you got that beige computer, still colorful, a little bit cluttered. The fact that these millennial moms, raised by boomers, no doubt, growing up in a colorful, comfy household, they still grew up to become stone cold minimalists, stone cold beigifiers. It doesn't necessarily work out. It might backfire. You might turn the kid into a stone cold minimalist. If you think about it in a reverse psychology way, these sad beige children, they might grow up and they could be so sick of all the uniformity, the strict adherence to aesthetic, their almond mom's antics. If they have a place of their own one day, they will fill it with color, they will fill it with clutter, they will become maximalists. When they have children, their children will be so sick of all this clutter and all this mismatching color that they would also become stone cold minimalists, like grandma is now. In the defendant's defense, what they're actually doing is a genius game of reverse psychology. put the child in a beige nursery so as to grow a love of color that they never had. Think about that. Can this beigifying of your kid's world be a diabolical plan to reverse psychology the kid, deprive them of color so that they could grow up wanting color, needing color? And that's what the parent wanted all along. Can it be that the defendant is not so stupid after all, and the defendant is actually a genius? Is she a genius or is she a moron? I think listening to this argument, the court of public opinion will think that I, the public defender, is a moron. They would not be wrong. In a personal sense, I can empathize with these stone cold minimalists / beigifiers of their children's nursery, beigifiers of interior design. It's not the worst crime in the world, the crime of ugly aesthetics. In the great minimalism purge of 2016 through 2019. If I had had a child during that time, I can definitely see myself going a little overboard with the decoration of their nursery. I went through a point where I was really into wabi-sabi with Japandi Scandi design and Japanese minimalism. And there was a point where I could definitely see myself beigifying the nursery. Maybe not beige. Beige is not my favorite color. I like the color green, so I think I would like greenify the nursery. Everything has to be in green. Various shades of green, monochromatic green. I could see myself adhering to that aesthetic, maybe going a little overboard with that aesthetic. There's this element of the need for tidiness, the need for control. I could see where the root of this comes from. We're assuming that the defendant here grew up in a 90s house or a house in the early 2000s. Maybe they lived in a McMansion with an Italianate kitchen. Like everything wanted to be a fake villa. They basically lived in a house that was trying to be the same decor as the Cheesecake Factory. Maybe they came from a family of hoarders. Maybe their mom was a hoarder or their dad was a hoarder. If you ever grew up in a hoarder home like I did, you will become a minimalist really fast. You might even edge into the realm of the stone cold extreme minimalists. During the great minimalism decluttering purge of 2016 through 2019, those are my dates, I could definitely see myself edging into extreme minimalist territory. I became very jumpy when there was nothing to declutter. I've already decluttered everything I could possibly declutter, but I needed to declutter more. And anytime somebody gave me something that I didn't ask for, I became very anxious or nervous and I just had to get rid of it. This may be the root of why the defendant felt the need to beigify their entire home, including their baby's nursery, and why they felt the need to post it online. Maybe they needed the social support of like-minded individuals. So ataxophobia is an extreme fear of untidiness or disorder. People with ataxophobia feel intense distress in untidy settings. They may experience anxiety just thinking about being in a situation where disorder or messiness surrounds them. You may constantly tidy up your surroundings or want your environment to be as clean as possible. I read an article about somebody who was so obsessed with decluttering that they basically live in a bare room. They declutter even items that they need, like their toothbrush, and then they had to go out and buy another toothbrush. And then when they look at that toothbrush, they're like, oh, I gotta get rid of it. That's the extreme spectrum of this case. But I would say that the defendant, she's on the spectrum of possible OCD, possible ataxophobia. Like, let's say during her kid's first birthday, given the amount of control that she needs for the aesthetic, we're assuming that she also has a gift registry for the kid. But let's just say grandma doesn't believe in this stupid gift registry. Grandma is fed up with her daughter's antics. She looks at her grandson's gift registry, sees all these boring beige toys, and she's like, you know, this kid needs color. So I'm gonna buy him this Fisher-Price turtle, this bright green turtle. The mother never asked for this. We don't know what the kid wants right now. He's one. All the gifts pile in from this registry. Everything is the same. Everything meets the mother's aesthetic. But then this bright green turtle comes in. I can definitely see the defendant growing increasingly anxious to see that bright green turtle amidst all her beige wooden toys. That's why she needs to neutralize it. She needs to make everything uniform. She must have order. In addition to pleading stupidity, no offense, she knows not what she does, we are also pleading ataxophobia. We are getting a psychological evaluation for the defendant, even though they may not be ataxophobic. We're gonna plead that anyways. We're gonna plead temporary insanity or permanent insanity. We're gonna get these charges lifted. And even though I'm not a real lawyer, in this moment, I feel like a weasel of a lawyer. I've become the ambulance chasing lawyer that you see in movies. So ladies and gentlemen of the jury, as you can see, the defendant is a hapless victim. You can see that she did not start off as a beige baby. Having grown up in 90s clutter, early 2000s clutter, having been scarred by the 2008 recession, scarred into going into minimalism, that drove her into beigifying her child's nursery for the clout, for the likes on social media. Drove her to film herself doing it. She's spray painting. She knows not what she does. She is not, as the charges state, flexing her upper middle class privilege. She is not whitewashing these toys to make everything whiter, if you know what I mean. And she is definitely not thinking about the Roman Empire as she does this. Do not attribute to malice what you can attribute to stupidity. On top of all that, she has a debilitating case of ataxophobia. Who is the victim here? Is it the child that's the victim, or is it the mother that's the victim? I think the child will be fine. Deprived of color, they will go out and seek color in their adulthood, which is probably what the defendant wanted in the first place. You know, reverse psychology, a tough love situation, because maybe she knew growing up with colorful interior design will turn you into a stone cold minimalist like her, so she doesn't want her child to repeat the same mistakes. So that's why she had to deprive her child of colorful toys. In conclusion, the only thing you have to do, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is to let her off, is to just give her a slap on the wrist. She knows not to do it again. She knows she did wrong and she's willing to atone. She's willing to, on probation, introduce a little bit of color into her child's room. We don't want to go crazy here. We want to just add like a little touch of pale blue, maybe some yellow, some millennial pink. She's learning from her ways. She's got a long way to grow. Isn't that what we're all here for? Forgive and forget and let grow what has been stunted. I rest my case. It's the next day and we have a verdict. This is exciting, guys, because I think I've argued my point very eloquently. Justice will be served today. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty on all charges and sentence her to redecorate her home. Find a better lawyer, preferably one who didn't come for free. Well, this really sucks. What can I say? You get what you paid for. Are you a millennial who has been mocked and shamed by both boomers and Gen Z and even Gen X? They're taking a crack at you too. Have they been mocking your side part and your skinny jeans and dragging your interior design choices online, dragging you through the coals, and you feel like you have nobody? Now it's time to fight back. I may not be a real public defender, and I may not be a real lawyer, and I may be a babbling moron. Just know that I empathize with you and I get angry for you. And if you subscribe to Teresa's Chaotic Corner, I'll fight for you. I will fight for you. Teresa got me a new pair of pants.